Beyond 3D.
Saturday evening in the Southern Hemisphere, in and around the peninsula.
Are you sure?
Think so. Welcome to this week's edition of Beyond 3D. Matt and Clint here, coming to you from Studio 2 at RPP 98.7.
98.3.
That too. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, Matt. I hope everybody's really well out there this week. It's been a crazy week weather-wise, hasn't it?
Oh, man. What happened up in Queensland?
Well, I honestly believe it's got a lot to do with the March equinox.
Okay. Well, I was talking to my brother-in-law, and he basically said it was about 1,000 kilometers across, 250 kilometer per hour winds, all kinds of funky stuff going on. And some friends of ours up in the Bundaberg area.
Hang on, where's your brother from?
Brother-in-law.
Brother-in-law, where's he from?
He's in Fitzroy in Melbourne.
Well, that's not far from us. I mean, it's still in Victoria, but...
And I was about to say, and some friends of ours up in Bundaberg.
Okay.
Have a nice little hobby farm up there, and they were worried about drought. I don't think they're worried about that anymore, being that their roads are closed and they're basically flooded at this point in time.
A lot of the resorts up there, like Daydream Island, have had to evacuate their guests because of a shortage of drinking water.
That's just nasty weather that happened this week up in Queensland. So our best thoughts go out to all the guys up in Queensland on Hayman Island and the Whitsundays and Sunshine Coast, and that includes Mr. Duncan Rhodes and all the gang up there at Nexus magazine, who have been going through some really funky things this week themselves, which we'll have to discuss a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting indeed. Matter of fact, I think I'll tell you one of them right now.
Go on, Matt.
The news feed for Nexus is down, or was down, because of what they call a DDoS.
Okay.
Denial of service.
Okay.
Hacking.
Okay.
Where what they do with the denial of service is they send so much or flood the website with so much information that the website crashes. And so they've been going through that this week. There's been a lot of interesting things going on up there.
So too much traffic.
It's a way of getting a site to crash.
Because of too much traffic.
Because hackers flood all kinds of information at the site. Mm-hmm. Filling everything up so that the site basically can no longer handle any more information and shuts down.
Duncan's site is not a site on the internet that is created to hinder. It's there to help.
People, yes, in general terms.
In general terms it is. So any hacker who would want to crash a site that's there to help people has to be a hacker that's working for a government. In
my opinion, I think you're 100% correct. That's what I would say, and that's what they've gone through this week. It's just really a shame that there are people out there, and if you guys, when the site is up again, look, guys, take a look at Duncan's feed, take a look at the news feed from Nexus, and look at all the great information they have up there, and you'll understand why would somebody want to do harm to something that is doing so much good.
Have you got the address?
I'll put it up on the Facebook page.
Nice.
And everybody can take a look at it, but that's just one of the little goodies that happened this week in and around Australia.
Well, that's a goodie, but it's not a goodie for Nexus.
Oh, no, not at all. But, things happen, and they will fix it.
Well, look, Duncan's obviously doing really good work up there at the moment to draw that kind of heat.
Yep.
So
I think so.
Keep swinging, Duncan.
Absolutely.
Swing away.
Absolutely. So, Clint, what have you been seeing this week? What's been going on for you?
You were talking earlier about before we came on air tonight.
Yeah, I was.
Anything in particular?
Well, yeah.
I know you've got stuff there.
It is the season right now, and a lot of people at their jobs are being given the opportunity to step right up and get. And so I thought it would be interesting to bring up the fact there's been a lot of talk about lately. The actor Robert De Niro is involved in that whole kind of a thing because of the tendencies that can happen after children have at a very young age. There's a lot of things going on. So there's a lot of, yays and nays when it comes to
I don't know what the statistics are with these days. Do you know if they've gone up or down? I would assume that they've gone up.
They've gone up. It used to be with what was it? I'm off the top of my head. Please don't quote me on the numbers. It used to be 1 in 64 and in the United States in certain areas, and now it's gone down to about 1 in 20.
Wow.
So there's been a major spike.
I know a major Yale study recently showed that weren't tied just to but all to multiple brain disorders.
Interesting you should say that as well, because what I decided to do was a little bit of research and try to look up, why all of the hubbub around it.
And that was OCD and anorexia, ADHD, and other major depressive disorders as well.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I started to look at, the two main things that they put in. Now, here in Australia, they're saying that the you're given are clean. But you have to take that with a grain of salt. There's a reason for that, and we'll get into that in a minute. But the two main things that are in around the world are formaldehyde, and most people know formaldehyde because of two things: either decaffeinating coffee or decaffeinating your body after you're dead. So now the other one is mercury.
Yes, that's nasty.
And mercury is the second most poisonous element known to man behind uranium.
Do you know when I was a kid, there was this toy that you could get? It was called Quicksilver, and you know what I'm talking about, don't you? I have not been able to find one on eBay since, but for those who don't know what it was a plastic tray that had a maze with a plastic clear see-through lid, and inside was a drop of mercury, and you would guide that drop of mercury around the maze, and heaven forbid if you ever cracked the plastic.
Well, I think, and you're right, I remember that distinctly. And the thing about the whole thing is those are two components in, and most people were talking about influenza or the flu that you get. So
now that has come out as a fact that those ingredients are in.
Yep. At least in the United States it has.
Has anybody understood why mercury is needed in the human body?
It is being used as a preservative.
Well, surely there's other preservatives they can use.
Yeah, of course, but that's what they use it for. And with the formaldehyde aspect, it's a tissue fixative. In other words, it basically can, ultimately what it'll do, if it's a tissue fixative, it'll lead to, pardon me, toy boat, nerve damage.
Well, see, I've got mercury fillings. Yeah. Because I'm old school,
Yeah,
where they
me
used
too.
You've got mercury fillings too.
Yeah.
And it does something to the brain after a while.
Yeah, but
I'm sure.
But most people know now that you can go and get those removed, and they can come up with, they have other compounds that can be used now.
Yeah, but I wouldn't be me.
Oh, well. Yeah, but that's it. So I think a lot of times what we tend to do is we tend to look at the in terms of our kids. If you have kids, you know that certain things happen when kids go through the routine of getting. Now, a lot of people and a lot of governments are trying to manipulate, shall we say, parents into their children by stating that they will not be able to go to certain schools, or they will not be able to get certain benefits.
Exclusion, isolation.
Yeah, all of those kinds of things. But I was doing a little bit of research on this, and I will put a link up to this PDF file, which was on called Infinrix, that's given to kids. And this in the what's the word I'm looking for? In the
fine print.
That's it. In the fine print. It talks about the fact that these following things can happen based upon this. Temperature can become greater than 40.5 degrees centigrade within 48 hours. Collapse or shock-like state may occur. Persistent, inconsolable crying for longer than 3 hours. Convulsions with or without fever.
Okay.
So this is what...
Not okay, but okay.
But this is the kind of stuff that is being put into that, and this is causing kids a lot of grief. Now, I can remember, and I'll take it from personal experience, when we got our daughter when she was young, we were hemming and hawing over how it could be done. I remember the first she got, which was only one shot, her temperature spiked to about 40.2 or 40.3, and we were really, really worried about it. We were lucky insofar as it did calm down, but we found a doctor who was a friend of my wife's from way back, from school days, and we asked her about it because we were taking our daughter to see her, and she actually said to us, well, I really can't give you too much information because I have my kids.
What does that tell you?
That tells us all we needed to know. And we said, okay, well, what are we supposed to do about this? And she says, well, you do not have to give them 3 or 4, multiple of these things at a time. You can actually spread it out over a period of time. And that way it takes away a lot of the possible side effects that could happen because you're bombarding them with all these different...
when Gardasil was under the spotlight, and it was alleged that was a bit of a concern for young girls.
Right.
At that point in time, I had 3 daughters, and all of them, the oldest one had her, but the youngest 2 were coming up to it, and I was very, very torn about doing it.
Yeah.
As you are, because
you would be.
You aren't a scientist. You don't have all the facts.
No, you don't.
You're told that it's safe, and yet there is so much evidence with other parents whose children have declined with their health after having is that you're sort of like, well, do I do it or do I don't do it?
Err on the side of caution, which to me, my opinion is I'm not going to do it until there's more information out about these things and what's going on with them. But even in Australia, where they say their are clean and that even the flu they say do not contain any strains of flu, I find it very, very interesting that how people will go and get this and literally a week after they've gotten it, they've come down with the flu.
But what I don't understand is that people don't get it. The common cold or the flu is a virus that mutates every single year.
Right.
So when you're getting an injection 2017, you're getting allegedly the dose from last year. So you're always going to be a year behind.
Yep.
And because it mutates, what do? Every year have the new to deal with the mutation. How much toxin can you keep putting into your body?
And there's a lot of toxins going in. And it's just like with our food, and as we try to label foods and stuff like that, you get to the point where you look at the fine print, as you so eloquently said earlier, and you find that there are things in, might contain, eggs or nuts or something like that in the food additives. Well, have similar writing on the packages and might contain, for argument's sake, taurodeoxycholic acids, which is a steroid, so you're putting steroids in your body. Might contain sucrose plant sugars. Might contain neomycin, which can cause hearing problems, kidney problems, breathing problems, muscle problems.
Well, hang on. Why might? This is what I don't
they're
get.
They're basically telling you there's could be traces of this stuff in they're giving you.
Yeah, but that doesn't tell me that it's that's healthy for you. If they've got to put a warning on the box that says it might have these harmful things in it, might's like a get out of jail free card in a court of law.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, Your Honour, but we put on it that it might have it on the box. Oh, well, you're covered.
Well, if you look at Pfizer and SmithKline, Glaxo and all the guys, that's what you're going to get. But what I'll do, it's really, really funny, guys. You got to listen to this. What I'm going to do is not this show, next week's show, I am going to get you one of the ads from a commercial in the States, a radio commercial in the States, and you can see just how fast they now have to talk at the end of the ad to get in all the little caveats. It is hilarious.
We'll make sure that that's not sped up.
It's not going to be sped up.
Okay.
But believe you me, it might as well be, because you won't believe what you hear. It's really, really funny.
Look,
absolutely.
Some cases are a good thing.
If you're going to another country and you know there can be some kind of malaria
or
around,
typhoid or something like that, but
when you're looking at your chloroquine, you take your things you're supposed to take to go and see these things. But some of the things that they're making kids take.
Well, look, you got meningococcal, measles, polio, tetanus, hepatitis B, mumps. A lot of those cases have sort of dropped off by the wayside these days.
Yeah, but now all of a sudden they're stating some of them are coming back. And the reason they're coming back is because every single name you just mentioned has a patent on it.
Yes, of course it does. It's owned.
It's definitely owned. And you know who owns most of them?
Yes, I do.
One of the people that own most of them just died recently.
Well, he doesn't own it anymore.
He doesn't own it anymore. His family
shareholders and family do.
So that's the whole thing. Same thing with the AIDS virus.
Yes.
That's patented as well.
And cured as well.
Yeah, but I'm never going to let you know that bit.
No.
So it's an interesting thing, and being that it is flu shot season here in Australia, I thought it would be a good thing to bring up and let people know, look, do some heavy-duty research.
Or hit your body with 3 basic things. Garlic.
Yep.
Ginger.
Yep.
Apple cider vinegar.
That helps.
That is better. Those three things together are way better for you than any needle.
And the other thing you can do, guys, take some lemons in water, boil the water, put the lemons in it, let it soak overnight, drink that in the morning.
Cut lemon? Mm-hmm. Cut lemon.
Cut lemon.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Not just the whole lemon.
Not just the whole lemon. Now, cut it open, quarter it, throw it into some water, let it sit overnight, drink that in the morning. One of the best tonics you could ever have.
We're going to take a break. We'll be back after this. Beyond 3D. Welcome back tonight to Beyond 3D.
Indeed.
How are you, Matt?
I'm good.
Elon
Musk?
Elon Musk.
Yes.
Just launched a company that can link your brain to a...
You're kidding.
To a what?
Computer?
Yes.
Interesting.
I would love to have said a Tesla car.
No, not quite. Not quite. You were looking at that, and I was looking at an article this week from Zero Hedge, and it was discussing something kind of sort of similar, but I'll let you elaborate on Mr.
Look,
Musk.
he launched his newest company, which is called Neuralink. Neuralink, Neuralink, which is in the process of developing a neural lace technology, Matt, meaning that users will be able to communicate directly with machines without using a physical interface.
What are they going to implant in you? There's got to be something they're going to throw in your body.
Well, Musk has actually been featured before talking about this in lots of different business articles and science articles. Although the notion of a brain-computer communication sort of seems a little bit far-fetched, doesn't it? Implanting electrodes into a human brain. It's not really a new concept.
It's been done before, but who knows?
Well, what about when amputees have prosthetic...
I'm going to have to do research on this, but I saw something this week about the fact that a person who was a paraplegic was able to move his or her body through thought. And if that is going on, that means you're talking about nanotechnology and getting down to the point where synapses in the brain are being fired or triggered in a certain way. And so I think Elon Musk announcing a Neuralink, and then you add in the fact that there are paraplegic people out there who are starting to be able to move their bodies through thought forms, and then you add the article that I saw this week on top of it from Zero Hedge, and you start to go, You really do start to go,
You go, because you look at all the documentation that's come out over the years with the so-called globalist elite wanting to interface with AI.
Yeah.
Now, Muskie has very much so been outspoken about that party of people wanting to forge his own path, yet he seems to be developing the technology that's going to enhance their goal.
There was another fellow that was talking along the same lines. He's on the Google board, Ray Kurzweil. He was also mentioning the fact that they wanted to merge with the machines. I guess they all want to become Borg in some way, shape, or form.
It'd be nice just to merge with an ATM, wouldn't it?
Well, put one in your pocket. You can just get money out whenever you need it. That would be very nice. But yeah, I'm wondering.
Your daughter thinks you're an ATM, doesn't she?
All daughters think that dads are ATMs. That's just the way it goes. But yeah, this other article, it's along the same lines. But there is a person by the name of Dr. Robert Duncan, and they are now talking about, and this is on Zero Hedge, guys, but we'll put a link up to it. Mind control grids. In other words, how the government will be able to control the minds of everyone on the planet and evolving humanity in a technological sense.
No, thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
What happened to free will?
Free will? Well, they don't want you to have that. That means you'll think for yourself. Anyway, he says in this article, professes with shame that he worked on voice of God weapons for the Department of Defense.
This is coming under the umbrella of MK Ultra.
Ultimately. And
when they can plant a thought into your mind, we're talking memory manipulation.
Yeah.
We're talking suggestive implants to make you do things beyond your will.
Well, what this is doing, in effect, is it's allowing people to... It's making people think they're actually schizophrenic in a way, because what they're actually hearing are voices, but those voices are being projected to them. Beam technologies, so to speak, and they can control people based upon that. And a lot of times you'll hear these guys go out and all of a sudden they waste 20 people, 50 people, and they talk about the fact that they were told to do that by a voice in their head.
This technology's been around for years.
It's been around for years, and he said this is what and he says in this article, you just said for years, he said this is the stuff that they were using 20 plus years ago.
Yep. This is all, anybody wants to look into this stuff, Google MK Ultra.
Yeah. And I'm going to put up a link to to a YouTube video, which will explain a lot of what this article is about, and just take the time, if you can, to look at it and see what's going on out there. You'll find it very interesting. And there's a lot of good, funny stuff going on out there. It's not good. It's just funny stuff that you really have to be weary of. This
neural lace technology, this is becoming the merging of a brain to a computer. Mm-hmm. So what happens, technically you should be able to delete memories then.
That would work really well in military instances.
It'd work really well for trauma as well, for people that wanted to forget, that didn't want to work through their trauma, they could just delete it.
Mm-hmm. That's science fiction.
Well, is it?
Yes. No, I've seen that in many science fiction shows.
No, but I'm saying, is it science fiction or is it science fact?
Well, usually science fiction television shows have some grounding in science fact.
A lot.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all for that to be going on right now. So a lot of information as far as Department of Defense is concerned. I don't like the fact that it ties into the United States wanting to put another $54 billion per year into the military. I think that is a very dangerous situation as well.
Hang on. Is that actually going to go into the military, or do you think some of that will be siphoned into the black budget?
Diverted. That's what it's for. It'll absolutely be diverted.
Because there's no massive war at the moment they're fighting. They've pulled back a lot of everything.
They're trying to... Here's the other thing I've been seeing, and there's been some interesting articles out this week, including what we consider here in Australia a first. So we might have to talk about that when we get back after this break.
Beyond 3D. Welcome back tonight to Beyond 3D. Matt, you were just hedging along.
Yeah, another article that came out, and I will put this up on our Facebook page as well. The title of the article, or the headline, Australia could be in danger of DPRK nuke strike, U.S. Korean forces warn.
I've always prided myself on living here in Australia based on the fact that if the world went pot with the trade winds and the way that the ocean currents work, that we'd be pretty safe down where we are. I wouldn't say untouched, but I'd say pretty safe. We would get survivors down here. To a degree.
Yeah, but here's the thing. They cannot allow the general populace to feel comfortable.
Oh, God, no.
They need to make everyone panic.
Yep.
So this is why articles like this come out. And then this one, it's Vincent K. Brooks, which is the commander of the United States forces in Korea, told Julie Bishop, our foreign minister, that Pyongyang, North Korea, has developed a rocket that could put Canberra in danger of a nuclear strike.
We're not at war with Korea at the moment. We don't have any major grievance with Korea. Okay, we come under the umbrella of America, England,
Kansas, and all that malarkey.
Yes.
But they're trying to drag everybody into their fights. It's just like, come on, I'm fighting over here, and we need you. We got to, so they're going to say, all right, if you're going to get those guys to come in, we're going to have to hit them too. Anyway, and from the article, it says Bishop spoke to Australian newspaper about Brooks's warning, saying the assessment was that North Korea was now at a point of advanced technology when it came to ballistic missiles that were capable of carrying a single nuclear warhead, that it was an increasing security risk not only to the Korean Peninsula but also for our region, including Australia, and it was the first time I heard it in such stark terms. They're trying to drag everybody into it. God forbid you have fun and they can't. It's just absolutely pathetic. But this is the kind of stuff that's been coming up this week.
Well, look, one dropped affects everybody, so everybody is involved.
Yeah. At the same time, Australia has nothing to do with this.
I just said that at the start, didn't I?
That's the whole point. But they're trying to get Australia involved in stuff like this, and it really is ridiculous. So you have the Pyongyang supposed alleged threat, you have DARPA and controlling of the mines again, you have all of these kind of things coming up this week, and after a while you just say to yourself, come on.
What was the mind control that you were referring to earlier that was a beam? You mentioned something about it I just caught the tail end of it earlier.
What do you call the Dr. Robert Duncan, that article?
Yes.
Okay. Hive mind controlled, Project Bluebeam.
Why can't they? No, hang on, edit. Project Bluebeam is holographic.
Well, that's all in the same article.
Okay.
They're talking about that as well.
Okay.
Remote neural monitoring, which is what you were talking about.
Remote neural monitoring. Why could they not remote neural monitor? What's the leader of North Korea?
Kim Jong-un. Yep.
Why could they not remote control monitor Kim Jong-un?
How do we know they're not doing it right now and that's the reason all this is going on?
You don't know.
Yeah,
you don't know. And that comes under the tinfoil hat conspiracy. But you don't know. You don't know. You have no idea.
Neural monitoring, smart dust, electronic telepathy technologies, etc., etc., etc.
It sounds it's above and beyond the concept and the understanding of most of us, because it's a whole realm of science that's been locked off.
Yes, it has. It has been locked off
for decades. So then it looks like magic.
It does,
in this day and age.
It would. But, well, then let's bring it back down to earth, so to speak, and we can talk about stuff people can understand. Guns. So now, BAE Company and the United States Navy has come up with a new rail gun.
What's it made out of?
Oh, stuff.
Okay.
But
stuff. Everything's made of stuff. Do you like stuff?
Yeah, stuff is good.
I like stuff. What kind of stuff do you like?
Oh, all kinds of stuff.
I like stuff too.
Now, it can make a projectile go 4 times the barrier of sound, the sound barrier.
That means technically, the minute the nanosecond it's launched, it's already hit its target.
Just about. And they can, with absolute precision, this gun can hit and put a hole in concrete 100 miles away.
Ooh, 100 miles away?
Yeah. About 160 kilometers, gang. And so this is the new weapon that was just tested for the first time this week in Virginia, in the United States.
In what instance would I can't even think of a force that would need that.
Okay, there's a lot of stuff that we don't talk about on this show that we could bring up. And things along the lines of what is actually going on in the Middle East. Yeah, they're using a lot of this technology.
Look, they're using sound weaponry as well.
They are. But they're using a lot of this technology gets sent over to the Middle East for testing.
Yes, but that kind of
unofficially off the record.
That kind of gun that could put a hole in concrete from how far away?
100 miles.
100 miles away.
Yeah.
Would turn a human head to liquid. So
it wouldn't like that.
Anybody that's part of the ISIS gang or the Taliban wouldn't know you would not know what hit you.
Which is why on Facebook, Robert Morningstar put up an article that talked about the fact that there was, I think it was in Mosul or something like that over in the Middle East. Or was it? Yeah, in Iraq, in Mosul. They had wiped out all of the ISIS hierarchy in one go this past week. This is alleged, using new weaponry. And the other thing that they did that they weren't doing before was they would not allow churches and hospitals to be used as sanctuary. So the reason they wiped out this hierarchy in Iraq was because they bombed a mosque.
Okay.
So they're testing weaponry that can really do a lot of harm. So all these guys, as you said, were basically turned into liquid.
Yeah.
just about instantaneously.
I know that a lot of the sound technology, noise technology does turn you to liquid.
And it's like the movie The Lord of the Rings, when the wraiths came down and they would screech and everybody would just start running and dispersing. That's exactly the technology they have.
As long as they don't hit the brown note.
So,
Do you know what the brown note is, don't you?
go ahead, tell them.
It's a frequency. You know what it's a particular frequency that
Makes you squirt.
involuntary, you lose control over your body.
Yeah.
Your body's functions.
Yeah.
Why don't they just hit ISIS with the brown note?
Then they'd clean themselves up and keep going.
Well, I wouldn't expect them to have suitcases full of clothing.
Yeah, change of underwear and keep on going. No, but they basically use these guns that the police have, not even the police, normal police departments, sheriff departments in the United States have them. They use them a lot out when they have music concerts and stuff like that in the deserts. If they have a situation that they need to control, they have water cannons. They also have sound cannons.
I've seen a sound cannon. It's pretty impressive.
So it makes people disperse.
Yep.
You have no choice, basically. It just throws you and you just have to run away from it.
Well, at the end of the day, we're an animal. And when you can control dogs with sound, there's no reason why you can't control people with sound either.
You can indeed. You most certainly can. At this point in time, you know what I think we need to do? We'll take a quick break and we're going to return with some information, especially from Secure Team 10 and some things that are going on with UFOs. So hang in there with us. Beyond 3. Welcome back to this Saturday's edition of Beyond 3D. Matt and Clint still here in Studio 2, hanging out with you. Wanted to get into a video I saw this week from Secure Team out of the United States, and it's near and dear to my heart insofar as they brought up pictures that was taken from the USS Trepang submarine up in the Arctic back in early 1970, around 1971.
Okay.
And it showed different, for lack of a better term, UFOs.
UAPs?
Right above, it could be right above the waterline as they were looking through the periscopes and stuff like that.
I have seen those photos. They are very, very cool.
They're very cool because you had some cigar-shaped ones, you had some triangular-shaped ones, but they did, and I like the way Secure Team did this, they did go back to the 1950s and they brought up some pictures from the U.S. Navy on some balloon technologies that they were using. And quite frankly, some of those so-called UFO photographs did look like, hate to say it, weather balloons. Now, the thing is, they used to use those for target practice. So you don't know.
Why not use actual weather balloons as disinformation?
It could be. But what they did in this instance was they went back, and I'll put the link up to the video as well, but they actually went back and talked to the admirals that were on the boat at the time, and they would not confirm or deny anything. More than likely, they were told to keep quiet. Now, not every single photograph, and we'll have the photos up there, you can look at the video to see these, not all of these looked like balloons. Some of them looked quite disc-like. Some were coming out of the water, some were entering the water, some were hovering above the waterline.
None looked like a sausage dog.
No, Schnitzel wasn't there. So it's an interesting video, but the thing is, the pictures themselves have been authenticated and were taken back in the 1970s, and they did check the registry of those U.S. naval vessels, and those vessels were indeed in the Arctic at that time on patrol. So, take a look, guys, and tell me what you think. Tell us what you think, because it's not just up to us, it's up to you to look at it as well.
Between February 2001 and March 2002, a gentleman by the name of Gary McKinnon was initially, Matt, looking for evidence of free energy suppression and UFO cover-up activity. He decided to hack 16 NASA computers, as well as a dozen of US Army, Navy, and Air Force Department of Defense computers, and found a lot of information that backs up exactly what you're talking about.
What happened to him?
Yeah, poor Gary. I have a clip here if you want to have a listen.
Absolutely.
Matt, here's a clip of Barack Obama with David Cameron discussing Gary McKinnon's hacks on NASA.
Oh, this ought to be good.
Mr. President, Tom Bradby, ITV News. Quite a lot of people in the UK feel that your determination as a country to continue to push for the extradition of computer hacker and Asperger's sufferer Gary McKinnon is disproportionate and somewhat harsh. Do you think it is time now to consider some leniency in this case? And Prime Minister, you've expressed very strong views on this matter, suggesting that Mr. McKinnon shouldn't be extradited. Your Deputy Prime Minister has expressed even stronger views. Did you discuss that with the President today? And if not, would now be a good moment to share your views with us once again.
Shall I go?
Please, go ahead.
It is something that we discussed in our meeting. I mean, clearly there's a discussion going on between the British and the Americans about this, and I don't want to prejudice those discussions. We completely understand that Gary McKinnon stands accused of a very important and significant crime in terms of hacking into vital databases, and nobody denies that that is an important crime that has to be considered. But I have had conversations with the US ambassador, as well as raising it today with the President about this issue, and I hope a way through can be found.
Well, one of the things that David and I discussed was the increasing challenge that we're going to face as a consequence of the internet and the need for us to cooperate extensively on issues of cybersecurity. We had a brief discussion about the fact that although there may still be efforts to send in spies and try to obtain state secrets through traditional Cold War methods, the truth of the matter is these days where we're going to see enormous amounts of vulnerability when it comes to information is going to be through these kind of breaches in our information systems. So we take this very seriously, and I know that the British government does as well. Beyond that, one of the traditions we have is the President doesn't get involved in decisions around prosecutions, extradition matters. So what I expect is that my team will follow the law, but they will also coordinate closely with what we've just stated is an ally that is unparalleled in terms of our cooperative relationship. And I trust that this will get resolved in a way that underscores the seriousness of the issue, but also underscores the fact that we work together and we can find an appropriate solution. All right. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Beyond. So, Matt, that was Barack Obama talking about Gary McKinnon's extradition, and one of the things that Gary McKinnon dug up in the NASA files was evidence of the secret space program.
Okay, yep. I remember something about that. Here's the thing, when I'm listening to that, here's what I hear. Obama, when he...
Former President
Barack Obama, when he hears a question like that, I can hear his brain
so did I.
ticking over, trying to figure out what to say without revealing too much. Mm-hmm. You can always tell the AHs as he's searching his brain and his database to make sure he's not doing anything that could...
Non-committal statements.
Yeah, and that in and of itself I think is very interesting. The information, if he found... Now, Gary McKinnon, from what I'm remembering now, if he found out stuff about the United States Navy's
secret space program.
So the Navy would run it because they consider the space another sea.
Yes, correct.
So remind me if I'm... tell me if I'm wrong, but I believe Gary McKinnon found out information, including the names of officers that were stationed.
It was a list of officers off-world.
Off-world, that's it.
Where they were stationed, what their rank was. Mm-hmm. It is all highly classified information.
Right. Well, therefore, the United States would go after him because the information was classified. and that's what they'd want to do. I can totally understand that. There's certain things they don't want out into the public domain, not because people can't handle it, but because the so-called enemies, this day being Russia, they don't want them knowing what's going on, because if that information can be hacked from NASA's computers, it can also be hacked by the Russians from possibly Gary McKinnon. Anything is possible in that instance. So they just want to make sure that information doesn't get out. Now, I think what they're going for, and what I heard, was they're doing this right now in the current administration. They're not looking at what the information is. They're looking at the fact that the information got out. And what they want to do is have that narrative out there. This information got out. It wasn't supposed to. It's illegal. Therefore, we're going to prosecute the person, and we're going to try not to talk about what he actually found.
It's more putting the focus on what the retribution's going to be and what our actions are going to be, not what it was that the person found or why it was classified in the first place.
Being that you brought this one up, Clint, I will put up, I think it's John Michael Walson has a few videos on his YouTube page showing the actual ships.
Nice.
So I will put those up on the Facebook page, and people can look at that as well. So Mr. Walson, I will get his video of the so-called secret space program.
You just write that down there.
I am writing.
Is your crayon sharp?
It's sharp.
Nice. We'll be
Very
back
sharp.
after this. Beyond
3. Welcome back to this week's edition of Beyond 3D, guys. Hopefully everybody's hanging in out there with us, and we're going to get a little more information to you. So, Clint, what do you got?
I'm going to say this and then look across at you while I do it and see if a vein starts to bulge in the side of your head.
Uh-oh. Go ahead.
This article is dated March the 29th, 2017.
Yep.
The sky is going to be sprayed with toxic particles in a geoengineering experiment blocking the sunlight. Why? Finger up.
I'm going over my dates, and I'm trying to remember.
You nearly fell off your chair then.
Yeah.
I've never seen you take such a big pause.
No. I'm trying to see when. Oh. No, this happened the 27th. It was really, 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 really weird. I was about
a few days ago.
Yep. I was down the road a piece, and I was watching cloud formations over the ocean, and there were some real weird ones coming through. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, I start driving back up towards our area in Mornington here, and it just kept getting darker and darker and darker. I'm like, what the heck is going on out here? It reminded me of dusk, but it was about 2:30 in the afternoon.
Well, using a high-altitude balloon tethered to a gondola with sensors and propellers, they're going to spray sulfur dioxide, aluminium, and calcium carbonate into the stratosphere. The sensors are there to record data and measure the particles' ability to reflect sunlight away from our planet.
Why?
Yeah, that's a better question.
Why? What have they been finding lately up and around the sun? You know, those spaceships and stuff like that they've been finding lately. There's a big biggie that went through. That's right, there was a big one. Let me see if I can bring a picture up for you, and then I'll put it up on the Facebook page as well. I'm typing, folks.
No, I'm just thinking between this kind of geoengineering and Fukushima spilling its guts into the ocean, we really, really need lots of people to stop and ask these questions. Why is this happening? And what are we going to do about fixing it? Because it's everybody's problem.
Yes, it is. But, you know, I'm at a loss about right now how you're going to fix it. But, yeah, I was looking...
Chemtrails are not a conspiracy.
That's a fact.
It's a fact. I mean, like, I'm looking at a scientific document now talking about the alleged need to put these toxic particles into the air to block out sunlight. Now, I can only think that the only reason they'd want to do this is to combat global warming. And just between you and me, it's getting colder. It's not getting hotter.
Well, we said last week it's drying out. And when it dries out, you're losing moisture, and all of a sudden that sun gets more intense, and when a wind moves through, it does get colder. Now, I'll show you this, and then I'll put it up. But you know these...
Spin it.
The pictures when they have the filter around the sun, and that way you can see coronas and things like that.
Yes.
I'll run it again.
Yeah. Rewind that.
Rewind this, and you just take a look at...
Sorry, folks, but we're still here. We are talking to everybody.
Yeah, but you just take a look at it. It's real quick. It's only a minute.
You're playing that while we talk.
Yeah, exactly. So, in the center... It's almost like you're looking through a telescope, but in the center, the sun is there, so to block out the sun so you don't go blind, they put the filters up. And then they can add in the different filters around for infrared and what have you. And what they've been finding around the sun a lot lately is all of these huge ships flying in, draining energy, and leaving. So little ships like this over here, all kinds of little funky things going on up and around the sun.
So Matt's actually showing me right now an image of the sun, and the sun itself is blocked out. So like a round black dot that covers the sun.
That covers the sun.
And the telescope is showing you everything else that's around the sun. Mm-hmm. That's just insane.
And so you have all these big...
And see, when you look up at the sky, you can't see any of that because it's too glary.
No, you cannot. It's just like
with the normal
Mr. Slattery did with the other week with his little video out over Melbourne of the purple UFO.
Can I just say, Pete, I know you listen, that was an insane capture on that video camera of yours. Yes, it was insane.
Absolutely. I'm still like, wow. And he did it here.
He did it here.
And that's the thing
local.
That really, that's the thing. We love local, and that is as local as you can get. So I was very, very impressed with that as well. But this kind of stuff, I'm going to get a guest in for us as well, a very good friend of mine. I was just talking to her this afternoon.
She's have friends?
Yeah, I have a few.
Besides me?
Yeah, I have a couple.
Hello, Steve.
Yeah. I do have a couple. And we went through my wife Rose and this lady and myself, we went through a lot of the different healing modalities together over the course of the last 15 years. And we just contacted each other the other day. And we were talking about something, and inevitably this happens. She'll bring up a topic, and it will clear up something that I've been thinking about, and I'll bring up something, it'll clear up something she's been thinking about. So I'm going to get her on this show, and I want to get her on Soul to Soul as well, because the work that she's doing, I think, is really phenomenal, and it ties into a lot of the things that we are seeing in photographs or in videos like this as well. There's some stuff going on, and we've said this for the last 3 years, Clint. There's stuff going on. People need to be able to just take a look up into the sky and just watch what happens. It's just amazing, all the things that are happening.
There's stuff going on all around us.
That's the whole point.
And you know what I find really easy? It's really easy to slip back into the bubble.
Yeah, it is.
It's really easy to become complacent.
Yep.
And to punch the clock, go to work, come home, sleep, feel tired, get up and do it all over again. There's more to life than that.
Oh, there is, and that's why I said with the meditations, we're looking. Just look for 5 minutes of being able to just stop and do something totally different, which is going to help you immensely. But there's a whole lot of stuff going on. There was a major shift last week energetically. There are other things going on.
Question.
Yes.
Does that have anything to do with the March equinox that I talked about earlier?
Very good point. Yeah. It could have a lot to do with it. Energies are shifting. And everybody notices what's going on. Everybody notices what's going on around this planet right now. Not just the government stuff. Other stuff.
People that I know who aren't switched on are starting to wake up.
Yeah. They have no choice.
No.
They have no choice. So we like making fun of he who shall not be named, but the fact of I'm not going to, but the fact of the matter is those kind of actions are waking people up.
Yes. And as a catalyst for change.
That is what it comes down to.
As a catalyst for change.
That's the main thing. Yeah. That is the main thing that is actually to the betterment, to the it's not to our detriment in any way. It is actually helping us spiritually to awaken, because you get something that is just so farcical. It totally makes you say, wait a minute, no, enough of that. So I'll put this video up as well on our Facebook page. Take a look at this, and you can then go to the website, and you can watch. They have different filters, and you can watch the sun, live time, real time, and you can see all the different things that are moving in and out and around it. It's fascinating stuff to watch, because you notice, we mentioned a little while ago, because you brought up the fact that Mr. McKinnon is finding things about the secret space program.
Past tense.
And we mentioned the fact that it was the Navy, and the Navy considers space a sea.
Yes.
What lives in the sea? Fish, octopi, all kinds of little funky things that float around, right?
Where are you going with this?
It basically comes down to this. As above, so below. As below, so above. The space that you see out there, all those things that we see floating around out there are not necessarily man-made ships.
No.
They can be entities that actually live in that sea we know as space.
And drink and need solar radiation.
And need certain kind of foods.
Okay.
So we don't necessarily have to be looking at something mechanical. It could be a naturally occurring organism that has sentience, that is aware, totally aware, and this is where they live.
A blue whale, for example, that lives in space?
Yes.
Okay, but
why not?
Drinks solar radiation?
Why
Some
not?
form of organic life form?
Silicon-based, organic, I have no idea, but
Carbon.
The fact of the matter is, these are the things that we have to start looking at. We can't just think that because it's in space and it's moving around, that it is necessarily a man-made or a machine made by some form of life. It's not just always technology.
There has to be forms of life out there that can traverse space without a machine.
There has to be. Just like there are forms of life that can traverse the oceans.
The depths of the oceans.
The
crushing pressure.
Yes, but they've adapted. So therefore, look at it that way instead of just automatically thinking it has to be some gray alien that's sending some ship to go do something. Not necessarily so. And if you look at a lot of the old videos from the space station and from some of the missions of the space shuttle, you will see that in the film, it is showing you things moving through space that actually look alive, not like a machine. They're pulsating in such a way that it looks like there is life there. That's just where they live.
Imagine if craft was sentient.
Babylon 5.
Let's take a break. Beyond 3.
Welcome back to this week's edition of Beyond 3D. I said Babylon 5, I'll do a 10-second story. The Vorlon's ships
hang on.
alive.
Miss Pacman.
No, you don't have to turn on Pacman.
Come on, go.
The Vorlon ships, Kosh's ship, was alive. It was sentient. It was another life form from their sphere. They were the ancient ones. So it could hear, it could protect, it was sentient. And it also served as his ship. That's all. Very simple. You don't need Pac-Man. That's the way it works. We constantly look at metal and material. Ultimately, we will get to the point where we can look at something that we would consider to be biological.
I heard an interview, I think it was with Lynda Moulton Howe, about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And she talked about that there was an alleged race, interdimensional race, that grew their ships.
Wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me. Well, this is the biological ship we used in order to traverse this so-called world.
Yeah, mine needs an overhaul.
Everybody's does. Especially when they're trying to poison us every day.
Hey, guess what?
What?
We're in the last leg of our show tonight.
Okay.
But it's official. And I watch the other vein in the other side of your head pop now. It's official, Matt.
Go ahead.
European Scientific Journal concludes, and I say concludes, that 9/11 was a controlled demolition.
Oh, gee, really?
I know.
Jeez.
I know.
Anybody with the mentality of a handball.
Hang on a second. Newsflash.
Yes.
Water is wet.
Yeah, exactly. That's just thrilling. I guess. How else can you put it?
Well, look, the European Scientific Journal's decided to come out now and publish the article, and 15 years later on the physics of high-rise building collapses. That was the article, and they've all collectively come out and said it was definitely a controlled demolition.
It was a put-up job. Come on, people.
Now, but we could spend a whole show talking about why, but we're not going to tonight.
Oh, heck no.
But it's definitely come out now that it was a controlled demolition. That's not I don't have to say alleged anymore.
No. Well, look at the daggone thing. No other way. No other way. So, yeah, ultimately, maybe we can do a show on that so that we can really delve into it and finally, well, it'll never put it to rest. But the fact of the matter is there are families now that are now suing Saudi Arabia. They have the right to do that. We probably won't go anywhere, but that's what they're doing now. Building 7 is an absolute farce when it comes to the World Trade Center.
That was the third building, wasn't it?
The third building.
That was nowhere near it.
That was nowhere near it.
Yes.
And went down as well.
They had no reason to go down.
Yeah, the Bushes were in control of the buildings I forget the other guy's name, but he bought the building and insured it for $2 billion, and that was a couple of weeks before this happened.
End of the day, it was just an excuse to go to war.
They needed an excuse to get back into, now here's tinfoil hat territory. They needed an excuse to get back into Iraq because they found that machine, the Virmana, in the bottom of the Bagdad museum, and they need to get in there and get it.
Yes, I know. So, we've heard a good story about that, haven't we?
Yeah. So look, for technologies, something tells me they're willing to waste a few people. It wouldn't surprise me in the least. So you have to take it with it's not even taking it with a grain of salt. Look, this is a fact, and a lot of people have a really hard time with this. A lot of people have a very hard time with this, but here's what it comes down to. We vote for government. We vote in politicians and things like that. That does not necessarily mean that they have our best interests at heart.
Thank you, but stop. We vote for who we're told we can choose.
True. Good point. But we still vote for them, or some people do.
And it's even come out, Matt, many times. Look at voter fraud in the United States.
There is no voter fraud in the United States.
There's no voter fraud anywhere, is there?
No, there's voter fraud in Russia. There's voter fraud when Saddam Hussein was around in Iraq. There's definitely voter fraud in North Korea. Actually, there's not voter fraud in North Korea. How can
you say there isn't voter fraud when you don't
Okay, let's see. Define voter fraud. You have to define it. Because this is the problem that they're going through over there right now. They're talking about, you had a certain person say that 3 to 5 million people voted illegally. That is untrue.
Correct.
You have people saying that there are people that went in and voted for dead people. That is untrue.
Okay, hang on a second.
Unless you're in Chicago.
When a top hacker with his laptop can go tick, 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 tick with his keyboard and withdraw money from someone's account or put money into someone's account or close a government database down or go into a government database, don't tell me they cannot. It was proven they showed it on TV how they could manipulate the figures externally.
It's not external, that's internal, and it's usually done by the Democratic or the Republican Party in the United States.
When I say external, I mean from a remote site.
Yeah, you can do it from a remote site, and you can, basically, I discussed this.
It's external, but it's internal.
It's fractional voting.
Thank you.
That's what it is. So basically, well, you see it all the time. Your vote doesn't actually count for one vote. They can make your vote count for 7/8 or 3/4 of a vote. So therefore, you're actually not changing the numbers. You're just changing the value of the numbers.
So therefore, there's an illusion that you get to choose.
But you don't.
No, that's hence the illusion.
They'll say if you choose this person, it only counts for half. It doesn't count for one, it counts for half. So therefore, you have 10 people in an area that have to vote for somebody. One person votes, 3 people vote for one person and their vote counts for a full amount. The other 6 people vote for the other person, but their vote only counts for a third.
Yeah, but
what happens?
You tell me. I don't understand how.
The person they want would win 3-2.
Should a vote not be a vote? A vote should be a full vote, not a half, not a third, not 2/3, not a quarter.
But this is how they can manipulate the numbers. They go in and they can actually show that this is the amount of people that voted. People don't look at the numbers. It's all a numbers game. It's always follow the money. In this instance, follow the numbers. If you have 10 people and 3 people vote for one person, That means that person gets 3 votes.
You're writing that down. Like, I can't believe you're actually writing the number 3 and circling it. Yeah. Like, you're very agitated.
So 3 people get voted.
I don't like it. I don't like it when you're not chilled.
Those 3 people got 3 votes. They voted for this. They voted for person A. The other 6, that means that's 3 people. So there's another 7 people that have to vote to make 10. So these 7 people vote for person B. But this is not worth 1.
So hang on, wait. You're pointing at a piece of paper. People at home can't see what you're pointing at. You're pointing at person B.
I'm pointing at person B, who has just gotten 7 votes.
Correct.
You would think that person would win this election 7 votes to 3.
Why don't they?
Because they use fractional voting.
Who's they?
They are whichever party wants to manipulate the numbers.
Why is there fractional voting?
Because that's a way you can have everybody vote, and everybody's vote counts, but one person's vote counts more than another's.
But that shouldn't be that way.
Well, yes, it shouldn't be that way, but it is that way. It's called, in the United States, it's called the Electoral College.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
If you live in California, your vote doesn't count for 1.
Yeah, I don't understand that. That tells me that somebody's vote in California doesn't hold the same value as somebody from Oregon. So how does that work? I don't. This is a totally different conversation.
This is why
we can't do that. We can't do
that this week. I'll do it another time. But let's put it this way: that is the reason the certain president is now in the United States, ruling the country right now, is because of stuff like this.
Not for long.
Well, we'll see what happens. But quite frankly, yeah.
We'll do this again another time. Let's do it
another time.
Let's get back to 9/11.
9/11. Basically, in my opinion, I agree with what the Europeans now have said. But again, you and I have said this forever. It was a controlled demolition. Now, as you're watching that live, when we were watching it, you don't know what the heck to think because your mind is reeling because you can't believe what you're seeing. But as a new day comes around, in the light of a new day, all of a sudden you look at it and you go, wait a minute. Here's the difference for me. I looked at that second, I didn't see the first tower. I looked at the second tower more than the first, the South Tower. When that South Tower went down and I saw how it came down, I'm looking at it going like, what is that? That doesn't make any sense to me. We always said if that building came down, it would fall across Broadway. It was so tall. It would not just come down in a heap like that. Yes, I agree with the Europeans. It was obviously controlled. It was obviously they had thermite or whatever you want to call it.
Thermite. I've seen lots of articles about thermite being found on the site.
And therefore, and then here's even more important, to prove that it was something along the lines of poison, uranium kind of poisoning, plutonium kind of poisoning. All the people you see walking there that were totally covered in that white ash.
You had family that was like that, didn't you?
And I had family that was in there. My sister was in that pit the day after it happened. Out of all the people you would see in photographs, how many of them today are still alive?
I know for a fact there's 0.
They're all dead.
Yep.
From different forms of rare cancers and things like that.
Yep.
They just wiped them out.
Yep.
So they always talk about 2,000 people plus the other whatever at the Pentagon. No. Tens of thousands of people were directly affected by that insofar as they died because of what was done to those buildings.
And 1,000 structural engineers around the world have all concluded the same outcome, that it was a controlled demolition, because there is no way a plane could slice through steel. Yeah, bird strike pushes in the nose of a jumbo jet. You know, you hit a kangaroo in a car or a wombat, your whole front end is caved in. Same thing on an aeroplane. You hit a bird on the front of an aeroplane, the nose of an aeroplane, it just pushes it all in. It cannot go through structural steel, the nose, and still pop out the other side like it does in some of those CGI clips.
Yeah, it's a good thing you said CGI. Yeah, exactly. So this is the thing. I thoroughly agree, and it's very hard still today for people to accept the fact that some entity, government or otherwise, would actually perpetrate something like that.
When there's a big enough agenda, absolutely.
Yeah, I thoroughly agree. Well, and if you want to go back, they knew what was going to happen at Pearl Harbor, but they did nothing to stop it.
They know a lot of things are going to happen. They don't do anything to stop it.
Because it serves a greater purpose as far as certain people are concerned.
And that's all we have time for tonight, mate.
Indeed.
Hey, just be sure, everybody, to check out our Facebook page.
A lot of stuff going up.
Yeah, there is a lot of stuff going on. That's Beyond the number 3, a hyphen, and the letter D at Facebook.
We will catch you guys next week for another edition of Beyond 3D, so you take good care of yourselves. All the guys down here enjoy the holidays as far as school is concerned. Take care, people.
And please be sure to check out Soul to Soul.
Oh, absolutely. You have to. You must. You gotta.
For your health reasons. For your head and your heart.
Mostly for the heart. It's always very good. Take care, people.
Good night.
Just because you haven't experienced it doesn't mean it doesn't exist.